Hello there, and welcome to the tour of the enclosed cockpit variant of the HoverExcavator, the 21st vehicle in the first run Hover Vehicles series. My name is Wimperman, and I am the Chief Designer, Chief Builder, Chief Architect, and Chief Dumbass of the enclosed cockpit HoverExcavator update project. If you can hear any outside noises through my window, I do apologise, but it's a wee bit warm in England land, so I have to have my window open and I'm sat next to it, so I apologise, but needs must. So we will start with the original vehicle, and this is it over here, and as you can see it it sort of resembles a demented jumping spider, as you can see. Yes, so this was built before the game was released. It was originally part of the Enclosed Cockpit Utility Hover Vehicles series. All those vehicles, along with the Open Cockpit Utility Hover Vehicles, have both been combined into the first run series, because that was the first time I played the game. That's why the first run series is named that. So because it was built before the game was released, it has no CPU extenders, no Wi-Fi, and no container extensions. It simply has these big ore and wood boxes. That was all that was in the game at the time. Now, if you can see in through the windows, you'll see that the original one is a 4-person vehicle. Ooh, I didn't change the polarity of that window there, but never mind. Doesn't matter anymore. So the reason it looks like this is because I decided on the open top one that this is just a variation of as well. The seats that the people controlling these drill turrets would be behind the drill turrets themselves, and that then meant I needed to give them headroom to walk around in that little bit. Yeah, although looking at it now, I could have easily have put these windows on the bottom of the block rather than at the top, and it would have made it look a bit better. But still. Right, so back to the new version then. I fixed the way it looks mostly by not having the seats that control the drills out here behind the drills. They are in the cockpit. Even on the open top one, it's a 3-seater. So that fixes that. And as I was building the open top one, although I did originally say in the refitting of video when I first started that the enclosed cockpit that this is would be not a variation, it would be a new build. But then as I started to build the open top one, I started to figure that I could in fact edit it into an enclosed cockpit one if I just selected or edited actually the block shapes around this area, pop a door there. Oh, I will say before I carry on that you do need to crouch to go through the door. I'm okay with that because it's a piece of industrial equipment, and I mean, in real life, there are pieces of industrial equipment that you can't walk around in. You have to crouch, so I'm okay with it. Right, next we will talk about its role and its task equipment. So, it is a mining vehicle, and to accomplish that task, it has 6 mechanical drills and 3 drill turrets. 2 there for your passengers, and there is also another one under the back so that you can clear out any pointies or dig the hole a bit bigger behind you so that you can turn around and get out, is the idea. Next is propulsion and lift capacity. So let me pop the drills etc. away. So forward thrust, it has, let me turn on my HUD for a second, it has 4 large tier 2 thrusters on by default, plus another 4 outboard of those that are set to max lift. For reverse and braking, it has another 4 large tier 2s plus 2 more set to max lift. And in its lateral thrust is 3 large tier 2s in both directions, and all 3 are on by default. It has 6 RCSs to help with its... I don't know why I pressed that, because it's not there. To help... Well, actually, I could go here, couldn't I? To help with its manoeuvrability, or its agility, I should say, actually. Hover engines wise, it has 4 large hover engines on by default. It also has 6 down the centre line set to the mining hovers signal. So that turns off the outboard ones, and that helps the vehicle stop rocking backwards and forwards, side to side actually, over the pointy bits left from drilling. I will say real quick that drilling with manual drills is a bit shit, but we will come to that in a bit later on. It also has another 4 large hover engines set to its max lift, and that's those there. Now, with max lift on and the default hover engines on, this vehicle can lift in 1G 653 tons. Half that for 2G, it can lift 326.5 tons. And when you half that again for 4G, you get 163.25 tons that this vehicle can lift in this configuration. Let's pop max lift off again. Blah, blah, blah. It does also have 3 of what I call jump boosters, hover boosters. They jump the vehicle, that's why I call them that. Right, that's the end of the propulsion stuff. Now we'll talk about the power, fuel and air. So, power generation is provided by 3 large generators in the front in the front of the vehicle. There's one there, one in the middle, and then one matching on the opposite side. Fuel wise, it has 10 large fuel tanks. That'll keep you going for a while. There are 5 on each side of the vehicle, 4 stacked in that arrangement, and then 1 that can be accessed from the cab behind those, and the same on the other side. For air, there are 6 of the O2 tanks. There is a ventilator. This is of course a airtight vehicle. That was the wrong button. As you can see, it is airtight in here. I did have to move around some of the devices in here in order to make it airtight from the open top one anyway. Pop that back off. And there is also 2 O2 stations, 1 on each side, and each of those can be accessed from the outside as well. Now the open top one has an access shutter there so that you can access those O2 tanks, but because this was enclosed and I felt it needed more O2 tanks, and the only space I could find was in the back wall of the cab, because these are now accessible, I decided it didn't need the access shutters on the outside. Story time with Wimp. Next we will cover its weapons and defences. So, we have 4 Gatling turrets and 2 fixed Gatling guns. I don't know why one is always slower than the other. It's quite bizarre. But there you go, they're laid out in that arrangement. Now, the turrets are... Ooh, that should not be open. Whatever. Number 3, general purpose. So that's the configuration of the turrets there, set to their general purpose targeting parameters. It doesn't have any armour other than its own bodywork. And it does have a slot for a shield, but it doesn't come with a shield by default. Right, let's pop those away. Next, I'll give you a quick tour of the interior and talk about the construction of the vehicle. So, you probably got a fairly decent look at it when I was in here just now talking about the air, but this is the interior. The seats are laid out in this fashion, with the driver's seat in the middle. There are some LCD screens for the driver to see how to turn on and off some of the toggleables. And there are some shutter doors at the back, which I will go through in a bit, that will allow you to upgrade the vehicle. The construction of the vehicle is mostly steel. Let's go to that. There we go. Steel blocks, and apart from the shapes, the hull itself is a full block rather than some of my other vehicles, which are wall panels or half blocks. Give me a second, I shall reverse time. 1.21 gigawatts. Okay, that'll do. There is some carbon composite on the vehicle. It's mostly the floor that you walk on, and I think some of the kind of decorative little details, like this, I believe, is actually plastic. I mean, 11 hit points, so probably is. Right, next we will talk about its storage and its other devices. So, its ore and wood container, which as you probably saw earlier is at the back of the cab, has stuff in it. Oh yeah, because I've already recorded the little outro montage thing, and I went digging underground. So there we go, in order to get that little clip for the outro. Right, ore and wood, 13,000 SUs. Ammo for all of the weapons is 3,000 SUs. Other storage, there are 2 large cargo boxes at the front and 2 small cargo boxes at the front, which I've sort of painted in a way to suggest what you could use them for. Small arms ammo, meds, kind of the idea. There are 2 mini fridges for the crew to keep their sandwiches fresh. These do come turned off by default, by the way. If I can actually get there, it's there. I'm sure you know it, where the active switch, the activate 8 switch is, but just to prove that they are off. As you can see, 2 armor lockers are in here as well. There are some internal lights, 1 on each side there, and 2 up there, and there are a couple just to light up the ground around if you're parked. 1 there and a matching one on the other side. Okay, the penultimate thing we need to discuss is the shortcuts and signals. So, I've opened the screen a few times, so you probably got a fairly decent look at them, but these are the device group shortcuts and the signals here. Again, the LCD projectors in the cab tell you which buttons to press to activate and deactivate these. So we have a propulsion etc. that turns on what I've been referring to as the default hover engines, the 6 RCSSs, and the default thrusters. Then there's the max lift, which, as I was going around, turns on everything I mentioned is max lift, the additional hover engines and the additional thrusters. Headlights and tail lights, they're fairly obvious. The tail lights are there. Oh, and there. Now this one does actually have less headlights than the open top variant, because the open top variant has a small array of lights up here as well. The middle one pointing directly forward and the 2 side ones pointing diagonally, but I couldn't really do that with this one because I needed to make it airtight, so you have less light when you're underground. Sorry about that. But I mean, you can of course, I think pressing L turns on everything, doesn't it? Oh no, it just turns on the headlights. Oh well, there you go. Anyway, The interior lights and the ground lights are operated with these two shortcuts here and here. Now, I did actually think about putting a motion sensor in here, but I thought with 3 people you might have someone moving around when somebody is operating a drill or something, although I can't imagine that would make much of a difference. But I kind of wanted you to have complete control rather than have it being, you know, sometimes it will come on when you don't want it to. So, the ventilator switch. I put these on my vehicles in case you take it down onto a planet that has a breathable atmosphere. Now, you can of course turn the oxygen off. And although the ventilator isn't ventilating, it is still receiving power. So although it's not going to be much, you can turn it off to save a little bit of power. Does that change? Yeah, there you go. See, turning the ventilator off gives me 10 minutes of power. And I don't have much in here as it is. So that's why that's there, just to save you a bit of energies. The signals, power save. So, other than all the other stuff that you can turn off yourself, the power save will turn off the Wi-Fi and it'll turn off all the LCDs. So, we'll come to some of the others in a bit, but it'll definitely turn off these ones. The next one, mining hovers, you saw me activate that earlier. The drills, etc., again the same. And the turrets and the fixed guns, again you saw me use those. So that's the end of that little bit. And finally, we're going to talk about upgrading. So, it can be upgraded to tier 4. You open up these 2 shutters, and as you can see, there are some explanation signs here, signals. So, you remove, obviously, the LCD projectors. They're not actually in the way. You could leave them there if you can't be bothered, but it would be pointless. So, you pick up the... I'm not actually going to take you through what you need like I did with the hover dozer. Sorry, I couldn't remember its name then. Because this one's fairly simple. The hover dozer is a bit more complicated, I felt. So you take out the red blocks and the tier 3. Same on the other side, red blocks, tier 3. You put the tier 4s in their place. In here, you remove the red blocks and put in a pentaxid tank. And then we go round the back and in through this shutter you take out that LCD. Hang on, there you go. Why am I not opening it? You take out that LCD and the red blocks and you pop in the shield generator. And finally you hop up on top of the vehicle. You open these shutters and inside you'll need to put 2 extra generators on each side, and that should then give you enough power to charge your shield as you're moving around. I don't know if it'll... Oh, you could also, I forgot to mention, replace all of the mechanical drills with laser drills. Now, that'll then give you 7 generators in total. And that will be enough to charge the shield generator, and it will probably be enough to move around as well, but I doubt it will be enough for you to be using the drills at the same time. Right, so that's the end of the tour. Thank you very much for taking an interest in the enclosed cockpit variant of the HoverExcavator. I hope you get some enjoyment out of it, and hopefully I'll see you in another video. So thank you again, and goodbye.